Hi there everyone, Rob here with today's Western Pacific weather update. It is our second video update today because we are still watching Super Typhoon Guchols continuing to push towards the north, expecting to move just towards the east of Okinawa within the next 24 to 36 hours. And also we have actually two tropical systems out here, a newly formed tropical depression just towards the southwest of Hong Kong. And that is just here, just east of Hanoi right now, and it is starting to move off here towards the northeast. I don't expect this system to really develop up too much into too strong of a system, but what it is going to be doing is bringing the risk of some heavy rainfall across much of southeastern China, even over towards Taiwan. I want to touch on this real quick because the area there has already seen some widespread flooding. Let's take a look at the trim satellite image from NASA. And you can see here that over the course of the past week, a copious amount of rain has fallen across much of Taiwan, actually over 1,000 millimeters, even in some areas approaching 2,000 millimeters, right in here indicated by those very dark purples, even into the pinks across much of that area. So what that means is any more rainfall that could possibly fall here is going to be falling in already saturated soil, thus more flooding could be very high at risk. So definitely we are going to continue to watch this tropical depression very closely into the coming days. But look at the rest of out here in the Western Pacific. Actually, it's one of the wettest places in the world at this time. You have the southwest monsoon continuing to approach the Philippines, and I do believe that going through the next 24 hours, this is going to be enhanced by the typhoon off here towards the east. And actually you can see here on the COAMPS high resolution model as we go through the next 24 hours that flow really starts to kick up. Once it gets just north of Luzon Strait, that southwest monsoonal flow dragging into this tropical system. That's what we're talking about here, and that could be bringing some heavy flooding rains across much of the western portions of Luzon, even down towards Visayas. There in the Philippines, you're not quite out of the woods just yet as the system is passing there just towards the east. I know that today it is not too much of a severe weather out here, but we see Guchol continue to push off here towards the northeast, just north of Luzon Strait. I do believe that southwest monsoon is really going to start to kick up here as that moisture starts to feed into the system here from the southwest. But let's talk about Guchol here now. The current wind estimates from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center are showing upwards of about 130 knot sustained winds on a 1-minute wind scale. The Japan Meteorological Agency, the official agency out here in the Western Pacific, is showing about a 100 knot sustained winds on a 10-minute wind scale. So both very serious and severe sustained winds out here. You do see that eye very well defined here around that center of circulation. Well, it's kind of hard to do that on the loop, but in that you do see that eye there. And you also have very good banding coming in from the south. Actually, very little drier inflow coming around the storm system at this time. A little bit from the north there wrapping in, but overall though it is not affecting the strength of the system, and I do believe at this time we're actually seeing the max intensity of the storm. So with that said, where is it going to be going next? Is going to be continuing to hold this intensity for this very long, at least at this time. And over the next 12 hours, it should finally start to weaken as it starts to push off there towards the westerlies, and wind shear starts to become a much bigger factor here with this storm system. I know everybody here in Okinawa has really been worried about it though, so let's look at what the model outlook is currently showing. And at least fantastic news from a model standpoint. It looks like most of them are gearing the system just towards the east of Okinawa at this time. No, over the last couple of days we have been wavering just towards the west and towards the east. Well, it looks like it's moving a little bit farther and farther away from the main island there. Although I would still expect a severe tropical storm strength winds, even typhoon strength winds in some areas here across the eastern portions of Okinawa. And definitely you're going to be having some coastal floodings as this storm does blow by off here towards the northeast on the 18th and going into the early morning hours of the 19th across much of the southern Japanese islands. And on that note, actually, much of Taiwan too, you're going to be seeing these very high and rough waves. Do not try to go out there and go surfing in any of these areas, obviously, as it could be very dangerous. Rip currents are going to be a major factor, and not to mention just the rough surf. Across Okinawa, that definitely is going to be the case here. You're going to be experiencing some heavy rainfall as well as the storm system continues to push in from the south. But good news, once again, It does look like, at least at this time, that track is going to be remaining just off here towards the southeast. So that means that at least you're going to be in the left front quadrant, not the right front quadrant. The right front quadrant would be the more serious or more damaging side here. But still be prepared for some very serious weather. Talking about heavy rainfall and even possibly flooding rainfall out here, and also those strong winds, obviously. But I also want to remember or remind everybody that these storms are often capable of producing weak tornadoes, especially in some of these outer rain bands. It wouldn't be right near the center of the storm system, but usually in these strong rain bands away from the center of the storm, you do have that risk of tornadoes every now and then. But this is the Joint Typhoon Warning Center's outlook on the storm. They are also pushing in here just towards the east of Okinawa, maxing out those winds currently at about 130 knots, gusting up to 160 knots. But once again, they are also expecting it to gradually decrease down in intensity as it pushes off here towards the north, moving just towards the east of the Kanto area. I do think that actually it will be moving on shore here across the Kanto area, just down here towards the south. And if that is the case, it definitely is going to be bringing some very rough conditions across much of Tokyo here. Actually, this would be more of where my thoughts are. Always remember, I'm not an official agency, neither is the Joint Typhoon Warning Center for that matter. We always have to refer to the Japan Meteorological Agency. But these are my thoughts actually on where the storm system is going to be going. And with that said, some localized heavy rainfall could be expected here in some of the mountainous areas here in Japan, and also these high waves near the coastlines. This is already warnings or advisories, issued by the Japan Meteorological Agency across much of the southern Japanese islands, including the Amami region, even off here towards the southern portions of Kyushu. They're expecting some very rough and high seas that are going to be occurring here into the coming days. So as well here in Japan, definitely expect those surf, heavy rainfall, and the gusty wind. Not to mention the risk of tornadoes here. And actually, when I talk about that, I'm talking about out here in these outer rain bands that are going around the storm system. These are usually where you have that unstable weather, very convective weather, and some of these areas could produce those rain-shrouded tornadoes. So once this starts to move just towards the east of Okinawa, especially these rain bands off here towards the north, those are going to be the ones that are going to be carrying the very intense weather with it. So definitely stay indoors as the storm does go by. And as always, I've been saying the last couple of days, clean up your yards, clean up your balconies, bring anything in that could be potentially damaging, as flying debris could be picked up with some of these outer rain bands as it does push off here towards the east of Okinawa. But at least at this time, for everybody who's on military bases here, I do believe that you're still in T-Core 3. I would not be surprised at all if it upgrades to T-Core 2. Even though you're only going to be expecting winds just barely at Typhoon Strength, at least possibly at this time. But don't think you're quite out of the woods yet, even though the track is pushing a little bit farther off here towards the east, because it could wobble, as we have been obviously seeing here just the last couple of days. As a few days ago, actually back last Wednesday, our original track thoughts were exactly right here, and then a few days ago it wavered this direction, and then here, and now it's about there. I think, granted, the forecasting technique has been spot on, though, and the general direction towards Okinawa has continued to be there, but just do not think that because it is moved here towards the east that you're out of the woods just yet. I do expect some very rough weather, not only across the southern Japanese islands, but also pushing off there towards the north across the main island of Honshu, or even something such as like a train delays, especially the Shinkansen, a very sensitive train, could be delayed across much of the main island here. So definitely going to be continuing to watch this storm system into the coming days. That is all for right now, everybody. Thanks again for watching here at westernpacificweather.com. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, as always, please post them in the comment box below. And also, if you enjoy this video, please do hit the like button or share it out. It always helps us very much so if we try to get the most recent information out there to much of a wider audience. And also, I do want to put up here on the screen here and here, it's our different channels here at Western Pacific Weather, including one that's actually a storm chaser feed, Mr. James Reynolds, who was actually almost going to be going towards Okinawa to chase the storm, although since it is moving just towards the east of the main island there, he will be remaining back in Hong Kong, looking for any video actually on the tropical depression. And on that note, I would encourage anybody who has any photos or videos of this storm into the coming days to please share them here with us at westernpacificweather.com. You can always email me at westpacweather@gmail.com. Strongly stress, though, don't put yourself in any life-threatening situations. But thanks again for watching. Have a great day.